The strongest jobber or the true strongest? In the world of Hunter x Hunter, there is a man who appeared early in the story, displayed overwhelming power, yet scattered all too quickly. Uvogin. What kind of impression do you have of him? Do you see him as Kurapika's stepping stone? A muscle-brained jobber? Or perhaps a relic of the past left behind by power creep? If that is how you see him, then today, you might need to completely rewrite your understanding. As the serialization continues, with the complex settings of Nen becoming more defined, and the current succession contest arc unfolding aboard the Black Whale, a certain truth has been brought into sharp relief. That truth is, Uvogin was actually broken beyond belief. In fact, the more the current environment of the series develops, the more his abnormality stands out. Today, we will thoroughly dissect the strength of the Phantom Troop's vanguard, Uvogin, comparing him against the latest depictions in the manga. Why is he called the God of Destruction who arrived too early? We will dig deep into the reasons, chapter by chapter. Chapter 1, Strongest because he's simple. The pinnacle of enhancers. First, to discuss Uvogin's strength, we cannot ignore his Nen style. He is an enhancer. His ability is extremely simple. He specializes solely in strengthening his own flesh and aura. He hated tricks and schemes. His aesthetic was simply to hit things with his fist. And that was his ultimate weapon. The symbol of this is his signature move, the Big Bang Impact. The name sounds like a complex special move, but the reality is just a right straight infused with aura. However, the power behind it is erratic. In the story, he created a massive crater several meters deep in the ground, and its destructive power was described as being on par with a small missile. What is worth noting here is his goal. He aimed to make the power of his fist equivalent to a nuclear warhead. He wasn't relying on special Nen gimmicks. A living, breathing human being was attempting to obtain the firepower of a national military force single-handedly. In the world of Hunter x Hunter, in terms of individual martial might, this philosophy is close to the absolute ceiling. Even more terrifying is his physical ability without using aura. Recall the fight scene against the Shadow Beasts, the Mafia's strongest combat unit. Specifically, the fight against the Leech. Uvogin had been poisoned, paralyzed, and could not move anything below his neck. In that desperate situation, the actions he took were biting and screaming. He ruptured his opponent's eardrums and killed him with a point-blank roar. He bit off a piece of his enemy's skull and spat the bone fragments out at the speed of a bullet, sniping a distant enemy. Even without the use of his limbs, he overwhelmed a group of Nen users armed only with his voice and his mouth. This biological irregularity is the true essence of Uvogin. Chapter 2, The Storm of Reevaluation. Steel body that nullifies modern weaponry. Now, this is the core of our analysis today. Why is Uvogin being reevaluated right now? It is because the current succession contest arc has clearly established the power balance between modern firearms and Nen users. In the succession contest arc, top-tier capable fighters like Kurapika and Bill show extreme caution toward 9mm parabellum rounds, standard handgun ammunition. Kurapika explicitly states, "Even if I guard with Gyo, a 9mm round won't leave me unscathed." In other words, even for a Nen user, a bullet is a threat. If you take a hit properly, you will take damage. This has been redefined as common sense in the world of Hunter x Hunter. With this fact in mind, let's look back at Uvogin's feats. In York New City, he took concentrated fire from the Mafia. Far from just handguns, he caught a sniper rifle round with his teeth. And note that this was practically a surprise attack. There was no depiction of him using Gyo, focusing aura on his teeth. He nullified a sniper round likely with just his basic 10 or Ken, or perhaps just the raw density of his bones. The ultimate feat was the anti-tank bazooka. He stopped a weapon designed to destroy tanks at close range with a single hand. And his only reaction? That actually hurt. He bled a little, sure. But no broken bones. No hindrance to his ability to continue fighting. Let's organize this. In the modern environment of the manga, even a handgun bullet hurts if you guard it. But Uvogin takes an anti-tank weapon and is still kicking. The difference in durability can no longer be dismissed as just levels. Compared to first-class hunters like Bill or Kurapika, it has been proven that Uvogin's physical stats were an abnormal value that completely transcended the boundaries of humanity. Chapter 3, Why was he defeated? The despair known as matchup. Possessing such durability and attack power, why was he defeated so early in the story? It wasn't because Uvogin was weak. It was simply that the opponent was the worst possible match. His opponent was Kurapika, wielding Chain Jail. This ability forces a member of the Phantom Troop into a state of Zetsu. Zetsu is the state of shutting off all aura flow from the body. No matter how burly a nin user is, without the protection of aura, their defense drops to that of a normal human, or so it should. Uvogin's defeat was partly due to his arrogance in his own body, which led him to neglect using Gyo to see the hidden chains. However, looking at it from the other side, if Kurapika hadn't used a rule-breaking ability to force him into Zetsu and seal his aura, destroying Uvogin's body would have been impossible. In fact, even after being forced into Zetsu and beaten unilaterally by Kurapika's aura-infused punches, Uvogin endured for quite some time. With just his raw flesh, stripped of nin reinforcement, he took hits from an enraged Kurapika and didn't die instantly. That toughness actually highlights just how abnormal he was. And we must not forget his final moments. He refused to sell out his comrades until his very last breath, spitting out, "Die, fool," as he scattered. He wasn't just a muscle-bound idiot, he was a noble warrior who martyred himself for the code and pride of the troop. That mental toughness is another proof of his strength. Chapter 4, What if he were alive? If Uvogin hadn't died in York New and had appeared in subsequent arcs, what would have happened? Take the Chimera Ant arc, for example. Against a squadron leader class ant, Uvogin would likely have faced no issues. Even the hardened exoskeletons of the ants would have been like paper before the Big Bang impact. If a battle of muscles between him and a royal guard like Yuppie had been realized, we might have witnessed the hottest brawl in Hunter x Hunter history. And then there is the current succession contest arc. In the enclosed space of the ship, dealing with a man who can punch through walls, shatter floors, and ignore firearms. For the prince's private armies and the mafia, there would be no greater nightmare. In the current development, where intellect and schemes swirl, he was a being who could reset everything with violence. He could have been the ultimate Joker card. Ending, the strongest man who arrived too early. Uvogin possessed specs far too valuable to be consumed as an early game boss. He wasn't left behind by the power creep of nin battles. Rather, he was set as the ceiling of strength from the very beginning. Perhaps he had to exit the stage because he was simply too strong. A monster immune to guns. A man who destroys tanks with his bare hands. The more the world of Hunter x Hunter expands, the more the value of that simple violence continues to rise.